All right, good morning. It's 8:05, so I am going to get started. Welcome to day 32 of our class. Today I'm just going to give a short lecture. It probably will be closer to 15 minutes than 30 minutes long. All right, I want to explain what I sent out to you this morning, and the rest of the period will be lab. So if you'll have a chance, if you're all caught up, and many of you are, to work on the chapters 9 through 11 homework and the written test or the pretest. Tomorrow, I'll go over the first homework problem. All right, problem number 1 on superheroes and the chapters 9 through 11 pretest. I'm going to go over all that with you, and maybe even another homework problem if we have time. We'll see how it works. Wednesday, the plan right now is for you to take the chapters 9 to 11 hands-on test. That's your 5th hands-on test. All right, there is one problem on that test, literally. All right, then on Thursday, we'll begin our discussion of object-oriented programming. So I'm going to go over chapter 12 on Thursday, and we will go into it and be working on it all next week as well. I would guess that probably then the following Thursday, which is like March, I don't know, 7th or something like that, that will end up being your test on chapter 12. There will be a test just on chapter 12. And March 7th is significant also because it's the halfway point in the semester. It's 40 days. All right. So that's what we're doing the rest of this week. Friday will be a lab day. All right. So again, the hands-on test is right now scheduled to be Wednesday, and your completed chapters 9 through 11 homework and written tests are due a week from yesterday, this upcoming Sunday. All right. Now, before I go on, I am going to go over all this in just a moment, but I want to mention something because I have been getting emails from students. All right. Now, I've got a rated that has been turned in. If you disagree with that, it might be that I missed something, or you didn't send me something, or you forgot to put something into a repository. It could be a lot of things. But as I said on here, right here, we have people in this class, some who have completed basically none of the written tests. And as it says there, you can't see your screen. Okay, thank you. Thanks for letting me know. All right. So as I said right here, we've got people in this class who have, there are people in the class who have not done any of the written tests, none of them. And as it says there, these are worth about 11 or 12% of your grade. All right, so not doing so, you can't even get an A then if you do everything else and get it done perfectly. We've got other people in this class. I'm not going to mention names. I would never do something like that. But we have at least 1 or 2 individuals who are passing every test, mostly with A's, but they're not doing any of the homework. As your homework is worth 25% of your grade, that knocks you down to a 75%, which means that if you get everything else done but not the homework, and it's all perfect, you'd still only be eligible for a C. I don't understand that. All right. And, again, everybody says, well, yeah, you don't know about my life. I don't. And I don't say this to be crass or mean. I don't care. I'm not trying to be mean, but it's enough to worry about my own life. All right. I realize that people have family obligation, personal obligations, work obligations. I get all that. All right. I do. But, again, if you're not doing the work, it's going to be reflected in your grade. I got emails from 2 or 3 people over the weekend asking about retaking hands-on tests. This is basically the Rankin way here for the IT program. If you want to retake a hands-on test, you must have completely finished the homework for that chapter or those chapters, and you must have attained 100% accuracy. After you do that, you can retake the original test, and I'll average the two scores. So if you bombed the first one and you got a 60, and let's just say you do the homework and now, oh, it totally makes sense, and I get 100, then you get an 80. All right. Now, if you've got 90% or above on a test, I wouldn't recommend retaking it. Again, it's always your call, but I wouldn't recommend doing that. All right. And you can only retake the test once. I'm not going to allow this. I know that there are other programs. There might even be other IT instructors that allow you to keep retaking and retaking. I'm not going to do that. That's not fair, I don't think, to the rest of the class. Finally, last two things here. You can turn in late homework or late tests. If you have not done the homework for chapters 1 to 3, you can still turn it in. I'll give you 50% of what it was originally, worth. But as it says right here, between these two things, all right, 11% and 25%, that's 36%. And it's a heck of a lot better out of that 36% to get 18% of it than it is to get 0% of it. Because with 0%, you can't pass the class. All right, and I notice I have a spelling error here. And I did it again. All right, I'm going to continue to send out early alert messages to anyone who has an average of below 74.5%. I will at least do that on a weekly basis. Why? Because usually if I don't by like Thursday, I start getting emails from the people who are in charge of that stuff, and they will take a look at, they can see my grade book. They will look at it and they will say, hey, you've got so class and they have not attained 74.5%. You did not fill out an early alert message. Will you please do so as soon as possible? So I do. All right, enough. I don't mean to preach at you, but I just wanted you to know again what's going on. If any of that confuses you, email me and let me know. Again, I will work with you on this. I don't want anyone to fail. All right. So let's take a look at what I sent you this morning. All right. The first thing is this chapters 1 through 11 pretest. Notice what it says. It's a contrived project. What the heck does that even mean? Well, just to show you, because I'm going to show you the running version of it right now. Okay. If I can find it. So this is what we're going to be going over. One of the things that we will be going over tomorrow. All right. So let's see. I'll run it. And it's pretty easy. All right. Play the game. Okay. They're in order. So in other words, if I choose Barack and I choose Obama and I click match, it shows me a picture of Barack Obama. And it even fills in the party for me. If I choose Donald and Trump, it does the same thing with Trump. If I choose Franklin and Trump, I'll get an error message. No image available because they don't match. But the idea, the rationale behind giving you this is so that you are able to map up the stuff that goes into two different drop-down lists. All right. So if you match, and again, they're in order. Okay. I wanted to sit there and basically set it up so they weren't in order, but it's a lot more work than you might think it would be as far as mapping things up then. There's ways of doing it. I know there's a bunch of ways of doing it, but I did it like this. And this is what we're going to go over tomorrow. All right. In addition, if I go to the main forum here, this has got the instructions. So choose a first name and a last name, then click the match buttons. To keep it simple, we've only got the last 15 US presidents. Now, what you'll notice is where it says follow us on, if I click Facebook and I click Twitter, all right, these are check boxes, as you can see. If I click exit and it says, do you really want to exit? And I say yes, it says you are currently following us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If I only chose one of those three, it would show me the one, or two, it would show me the two. And if I run it again and I don't choose any of them, all right, it gives no message. So what you're going to see tomorrow when we look at this, I'm just going to run through this very, very quickly. We're going to have three arrays. This is an array of the first names. This is the array of the last names. This is the array of the party for each of the candidates. All right. Plus, I sent you today the images that go along with this. Now, you're going to have to change your images. It's going to have the right path. So how do you even find out what the heck the path is for your image? Well, we're going to create an images folder tomorrow, and then you can grab any one of the images you put in it, right mouse click, and choose copy full path. What you'll notice then is if you do that, let me make this a lot smaller, is you get something like this. That's my path. So what that means is for these, I have to change that for every one of my images, but that is going to be the path for each image. Yours, of course, will be different. All right. So we're going to go over that because I guess there's four arrays, so I was wrong. A string array with first names, a string array with last names, a string array with the parties, and a string array rather with the paths to all the images. Don't worry about what this means. We're going to go over it tomorrow. All right. Then notice in the load event, as it says, this populates the combo box for the first names. This calculates or populates, I should say, the combo box with the last names. All right, then we do a matching. I tried to put a lot of comments in here. I'm going to go and use this one tomorrow as kind of my template when I go and create this with you. All right. So I'm, like I said, hopefully there's enough in there that makes sense. And it will cover drop-down lists. It will cover check boxes, and it will cover radio buttons. They'll all be in there. All right. So we will talk about each and every one of those tomorrow. It's not a small program, as you can see. It's upwards of 280 lines. We will look at this. I will put this out there after I create it tomorrow. It'll be out there on a repo. It'll be something like Chapter 11 Pretest or something like that. All right. So that's one thing. The other thing I wanted to mention to you then is the homework. All right. Now, this first problem, we'll go over this one together. I am going to send you, if I haven't already, by tomorrow, I will send you all of the images I used to do this problem. Do you have to use my images? Of course not. If you want to use them, go ahead. If you want to go out and get your own, do that as well. I don't care. All right, but we're going to go over all of this problem tomorrow. All right, this problem, all right, because I'm working on the other three. I've got numbers 1 and 3 done right now, and this, let's look at 2. This, when I did mine right here, I made this a list box. And I made this a list box because you want to be able to choose one or more things. If it's a drop-down list, you don't have that capability. But with a list box, there is a multi-select where they have to all be connected to one another. And there's a multi-extended where it's like this. They don't have to be connected. But the idea is, let's say you choose information technology and you choose chemical engineering, something like this, and you click a search button. Then in here, all right, and I'm trying to work mine, so I put it into another form. If I can't get it to work for whatever reason, all right, I'll put it into a message box, but I think I can get this done. All right. And I'll show you kind of what I did. This third one shouldn't be hard at all. This is very, very, very similar, all right, to what we did, all right, very similar to what we did when we worked on the chapter 8 stuff that we did. We did a movie database and we did a game database. What's different in this third example here? All right, first of all, you're making up your own data. And that's what I did. I just made 5 random people. I had like John Doe, Jane Smith, Mark Green, you know, John White, etc., that kind of stuff. And I just used the classes in our program. I made up grades, I made up GPAs. But what's different in this one is this one right here. The user must be able to initiate a search by pressing enter on the keyboard in the corresponding text box. What does that mean? Well, what I would do would be to come into here, and for both this right here, meaning the first name text box, and right here for the last name text box, for both of those, I would see if there's a click event. All right. And if there is, I would probably end up calling the same routine for this one that I call for this button, and for this one that I call for this button. All right. Then finally, for the last one that you are supposed to work on in here, all right, that you are supposed to work on in here, this is the same problem we did last week. This is 9-1 from your textbooks, but it's redone 9-1. The one I did, if you remember these two fields here and here, these two, I used a date time picker. You are to go back and actually do it the way they asked you to do it in the book. Replace those two date time pickers, replace them with text boxes, and follow the instructions that are in here. All right. Some of the stuff is going to be exactly the same as what we did. All right. This is exactly the same, except again, text boxes versus date time pickers. So is this. So you can use a lot of the logic, but notice what's in here for number 7, 8, 9, and 10, and I guess 11. All right, add code to an is date time method. So you'll have to create that. Add code to an is within date range method. So you'll have to create that. Add code to an is later date method. So you'll have to create that, etc. All right. Now, this weekend, one of the things that I did was I went in and graded everything. So like I said, if you came in a little late and didn't hear this, to my knowledge, everything you have turned in through chapter 8 has been graded. It's in the grade book. If you disagree, if you say, well, I did this and you didn't grade it, let me know. All right, just send me out an email and let me know, send it out along with an invite to give it a repo if necessary or whatever. All right. I do miss things. I don't try to, but I do miss things. My wife will tell you, I spent 4 hours yesterday morning grading all the tests and grading all the homework for chapter 8. Also going in and trying to look through, stuff that people had not turned in to see if somebody had turned something in. If you have not turned in something and are turning it in now late, send me an email to let me know so I can grade it. There are people in this class that unfortunately are in the D range right now. And if they go back and either redo homework or written tests or do homework or written tests that they haven't done, I can tell you for certain that it would pull them up to a C. And in some cases, possibly even higher than that. All right. So again, tomorrow we will go over both. Tomorrow, we will go over both this problem right here, and I will send you, I might even send it out this afternoon. I don't know if I've sent it out yet or not. I'll check my emails, but I'll send you out all of the images that I have that I used. All right, he used Marvel superheroes, and I did the same thing. If you decide, no, I like the Justice League of America, and I like Superman and Batman and whatever, I don't care. Then do it that way. That I grabbed them all from Wikipedia. I believe they were from there. All right. Okay. So we will go over that one. I am going to probably not till this evening. I've done number one. I've done number three. I'm going to see if I can complete number two and if I can complete number four. All right. That'll give me a better chance to let you know if there's problems with any of those. The other thing that we will do tomorrow is we will build again this president thing from scratch. All right, we will build it from scratch. All right, now what I may end up doing before, as we get started is I may just go in here and build the interface for this. It's not much, as you can see. Label, 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 text box, button, 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 group box, radio buttons. When you put in an image, there's different ways of doing it. The easiest and what I consider to be the most straightforward way of doing it is to use what's called a picture box. So that's what I'm going to put in there. All right. So again, I want to say this a last time, and unfortunately, to many times when I give this lecture, I'm preaching to the choir. In other words, the people who are listening live here might very well be the people who are all caught up, have turned in everything. But if you have not, all right, if you're turning in something late, please send me an email and let me know that you've turned that in late. Also, you can go back. I'm not going to put this out there, but you can go back and take a look at this. I'll leave it up there for just a second. But when people, let me know, and I don't want to keep allowing, oh, I retook the test. What did you get on it the first time? Well, I got a 50. When you retook it, what'd you get? Well, I got a 60. Then I took it again and I got a 70. Then eventually I got 100. So I should get 100 on it. No, that's not how it works. All right. So I've told you what's going to be my policy in here. At the end of this semester, each and every one of you is going to be sent out, or should be sent out, according to my bosses, an online course review where, it's an evaluation. You evaluate three things. You evaluate the class. In other words, if you remember on day one, I gave you about 5 different things that we were supposed to be going over in this class. Things like object-oriented programming, things like the use of GitHub, things like the use of if statements and else statements, things like loops, etc., and arrays. And you say whether or not that was done in this class. The second thing you rate is the textbook. If you think the book stunk, you should put that down. All right. The third thing you review is the instructor. If you think the instructor stunk, you should put that down. I never see any comments from any students. What you guys do is totally 100% anonymous. I see nothing. All I get is if like, let's say that, there's 15 or 16 of you in this class and 8 people wrote down, you don't do a very good job of going over anything. Well, that's problematic. All right. And I would get something like that. But I've said this before, and sometimes people laugh. Believe me, I don't think it's funny. But if somebody writes in, I hate his voice, there's not much I can do about that. All right. It is what it is. But I try to look at the people make as being constructive criticism. It's ways for me to get better. All right. That's at least the way that I look at it. All right. So you will have that. All right. So again, tomorrow we are going to go over, at a minimum, we're going to go over the written test, and we will go over the homework problem number 1 at a minimum. If there's time, we might look at one of the other homework problems. I will save the pretest to a GitHub repo. Since the homework is homework, I do not save homeworks to a GitHub repo, so that won't be put out there. All right, then Wednesday will be your hands-on test. As always, it'll be emailed to you by 7 a.m. I will go over it between 8 o'clock, 8:05, I should say, and about 8:20 or 8:25. I will show you my working copy of it. It will be due at the end of the day. Then on Thursday, we will start going over chapter 12. I'm also going to, if I can find it, I've got an overall article. It's not long, but it's on object-oriented programming that I'll probably send out to you either Wednesday morning or Thursday morning. We'll do that first. Then we're going to go over chapter 12. Probably many of you will find this to be the hardest thing we've done so far in the class. All right, 12 through 16 is on object-oriented programming. We will go over chapter 12, then take a test. We will go over some of 13, some of 14, some of 15, and some of 16, then we'll take another test. All right, there is at least a chance that after we take the test for chapter 16, that may be the last hands-on test that you take this semester. I have to talk to my counterpart in St. Louis to see exactly how he is doing things because we are supposed to be keeping lockstep with one another. All right. So with that, again, any questions, feel free to email me. I'll be online this morning. All right. I will be online intermittently this afternoon, and I'll probably even be online this evening. All right. So you can feel free to get a hold of me, and hopefully, if you do have questions, I'll be able to answer them. All right. So with that, that's really all I had for today. So I will talk to you tomorrow at 8:05. Please have a good rest of the day. Thank you.